She touched it. He forced as she ran one finger across the successive grooves of the beard. This looks like you have some talent. Hector tried to smile. The sticker says $45. Will you take 30? Hector watched the old priest's face nestled comfortably in the wood. Suddenly the eyes began blinking, the lips moving. The lady was staring at Hector, waiting for his answer, so she didn't notice. I apologize, he said. I made a mistake. That one is supposed to be a sample of my work. It isn't for sale. The woman leaned in. I'll give you 50 for it. I'm sorry. Damn it. I'll give you 75. I'm not leaving this table empty-handed. I'm really sorry. It was not my intention to put a sticker on it. The woman slammed the carving down on Hector's table. She picked up the nun. This one nun, $40. It says. She shook the carving over his head. The nun gasped and began to cry ever so faintly. The determined woman didn't appear to notice what Hector heard. The nun all too clearly. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm feeling ill. The heat, I'm not thinking clearly. I need to close up early. I'm very sick. She picked up Hector's former neighbor, the butcher, and another. The last one wouldn't let go of the carving lying next to it, and the woman had to shake it again and again until one of the thin branch fingers snapped. There was a collective outcry that made heads turn all around the room, but the woman didn't take her eyes off Hector. 200 for the lot, she shouted. No, no, Hector said, waving his trembling hands. To his alarm, he noticed he had his carving knife in his hand. Left. What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? I'm stuck here. He tried to drop the knife, but his hand wouldn't let it go. When she saw it, she began to scream. Hector woke at dawn, but remained in bed. Both hands trembled. They had not stopped since yesterday. His eyes burned with a soft fire, and things floated in his vision. Papa, are you okay? Lucina's head was in the door. In the darkness, it looked like a figure he would never completed. I'm just a little under the weather, Mida. Go on. Go to the church, pray for your mother, help her find her way to heaven. I'll, Papa. I was thinking I would take the boys to visit her grave afterwards. I thought I could bring one of your carvings and lay it by the headstone. She would have liked that much. It would be a nice gesture. Hector began to sweat. He hoped she didn't notice. She would think he was running a fever and insist on staying home. It would have to be something really special, and I wouldn't be able to choose right now. I wouldn't know. He stopped. He would almost said, which one was safe. It's okay, Papa. We can do it later. There's no rush. Mama isn't going anywhere. She put her hand up to her lips. I'm sorry. That sounded terrible. Always the comical, my daughter, Hector replied. She laughed. Okay, Papa. We'll be back in a few hours. Hector heard the front door, and then he heard it again, and a quick clip-clop of shoes on the floor. One of his grandsons, he had no idea which one, stuck his face around the corner. Are you sick, Grandpa? He was very somber, his lower lip protruding like a large shiny blister. I'm afraid so. Sinan, he said and smiled. I have a freckle below my right eye. That's how you tell us apart. Why, thank you, Zenon. That's very kind of you to tell me. Zeno looked serious again. Are you going to die, Grandpa? Hector considered the question. I'm afraid we are all going to die, child. None of us know exactly when. We live with the knowledge, or we pretend ignorance. Zeno nodded. I'll pray for you today in the church and at my Abula's grave. I'll pray that you find your way to heaven. He left before Hector could thank him. Hector forced him out of bed. A few minutes later he dressed himself, although the trembling in his hands made for a poor job. His shoelaces became a mess of hard knots, no more lovely butterflies it seemed. He stumbled out to the front of the house and collapsed into his old rocker at the edge of the field. It hadn't been used in years. He only kept it because it belonged to his father, but it had been left outside for so long that slats were splintered and padded only with dust. It snapped and creaked beneath him as if it were disintegrating, but it held. The explosions began a few minutes later. There were several of them, each one louder than the one before, and the rumble of the hundreds of tons of rock giving away. There were lightning strikes as well, unusual for so early in the day. He wondered if the explosions might be causing the lightning, if maybe the noise and vibration might even bring about a storm. But maybe it was the other way around. The explosion is the result of the lightning strikes, and with all the dynamite, more explosions and a rain of dirt from the sky somewhere behind him. He could feel the ground heave. Another explosion, the loudest, yet loud enough, he thought, to wake the dead. That's when he saw all their heads come up, their profiles rising out of his carvings, out of the crooks and valves in the cottonwood branches, and stepping out of the shadows and walking out of the horizon, where they would have been hiding all those who had died over the decades and unable to move on because the way had been blocked. Too many of them, he thought, too many ghosts to count. It seemed he had been there all day. He had sat all day in his rocker without knowing. He would watch the changes in the sky as that ball of white heat lowered over the ridges and became orange, and then he was done. The wind the dead made was but a whisper at first, issuing softly out of the broken down branches and sticks. The twisted hearts of the cottonwoods, shadows inside shadows, but it soon became a roar as they all excited past him, and the sun began its descent behind the mountain, and the entire horizon line burned with its fire. The first forms that flew by him were long and wooden and almost expressionless, and then they became more expansive as the realization hit, and then they were practically screaming in pain or joy when that one so familiar clutched his trembling hands and ripped him out of his chair.